Welcome back to Challenge A Science Fair for week 12. So our last community day, we went ahead and talked about the second step in the scientific method, which is research. Let's go ahead and go through the scientific method together. Question, research, hypothesis, experiment, analysis, and conclusion. So let's work specifically on research this week. In class, we talked about what background research is. Why do we research? We talked about the Wright brothers, how before they took off in that plane in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, they had to do background research. They had to find out about how planes or attempts to fly had been conducted in the past so that it would help them moving forward. So we need to identify what we need to research as we are going forward this week. Now, just like in the papers that we've been doing all semester long, where we've been focusing on a specific animal or invertebrate or mammal, something along those lines, you've been doing research. So that's been a great warm-up. We're just gonna have to focus, really kind of funnel in on this one area. But what is that area? Well, in your question, you're gonna have keywords. So take a look at your question. I told you guys that I was going to look and see what type of insulated cup is going to keep my drink coldest the longest. So if I'm looking at that, the keywords are going to be insulated cup and then cold, right? So we're gonna identify, we're gonna define what these things are. This is where the 5 common topics are gonna come in really handy. So using those keywords, you can literally just plug them in to the questions listed here. Underneath definition, in the first of the 5 common topics, it says, what is, and there's a blank, so what is an insulated cup? What is an insulated cup not? To what group do these types of cups belong? How can an insulated cup be broken down into parts? You understand, you could do this at home. Then in comparison, circumstance, relationship, testimony, you're just gonna take these keywords. It's gonna help you drum up some ideas of what do you need to research? What do you need to look into to help you prepare? In this step, it might take more than just 1 week to do this. But what's really cool is that you're gonna have, this is the starting point, and I really want you to get a whole lot done because you get the whole week to focus on this one step. Okay, so in class on the board, we talked about using, this is Cole's lab journal, using those 5 common topics to help generate more ideas. You can also make a table with question words. What are our question words? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Fill in the blanks and then you'll answer those questions. Another great way to do your research is to ask these questions and then answer them. How do we begin our research? Like we said, identifying those keywords and brainstorming additional keywords and concepts. So think about what concepts are going to be associated with your question that you ask. Okay, based on your background research, you get to form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess of what you think the outcome of your experiment will be. So after you're doing all of this research, you should have an idea of what you think will happen. Is there a chance that your hypothesis will be incorrect? Absolutely. But just like we talked about in class, you will have the opportunity to learn through these different trials, through these mistakes, through these incorrect hypotheses. So do not give up if you end up, in fact, being wrong about what happens. Okay, that hypothesis that you form, you need to write it down in your book. So at this point in the research lab journal, it needs to look like this. You've got your research problem. You have your research question. You have background research and then hypothesis. Remember, we're adding to that table of contents in the order that matches your book. So whatever page is now the next one available, go ahead and put in what your hypothesis will be. At the top of the paper, label it with hypothesis, and then write up maybe 1 to 2 sentences all the way up to maybe a paragraph explaining what you think the outcome of your scientific question and all that research, what you think that will be. Okay, friends, so when we show up on Community Day for the end of week 12, you will have with you your lab journal. Make sure that you have your finalized question. You need to have that form that you signed with your parents to make sure everybody's on the same page about what you're doing. Everybody signed off on it. Mom and dad are good with it. I will be good with it as well. I'll check off on that. You need to do your background research. Remember, every single thing you research needs to be in your lab journal with your sources cited. Just like in your research for those different animals that you presented on, you need to cite your sources. Incredibly important. And then finally, you have a hypothesis. What do you think the outcome of your experiment will be? Super important. I look forward to seeing your lab journals. Have a great week and let me know if you have any questions.